Hey everybody! So today we are going to start our summary versus analysis unit. A lot of times one of the primary things I see when people are writing papers is that they do a lot of summarizing and not a lot of analysis. So the first thing we need to know is what the difference is. So today we're just going to focus on the summaries. What is a summary? It is a short and clear description that gives only the main facts and ideas about something. So we have some ABCs to help us remember what needs to be happening in our summaries to make them good. So our A is accurate. Accurate means that your summary correctly conveys the information and the intent of the work. So both what's in the work and what that's trying to do. So if you took someone's words out of context, even if it was said in what you're summarizing, if you make it look like they meant the opposite or something, that would not be accurate. Or if you leave important things out, that would not be accurate. Our B is brief. So we want the length of a summary to be about 25 to 50% of the original work, depending on how long that original work is. We want to make it as short as we can, while still making sure that we have everything that we need in it. And our C is comprehensive. And that might seem contradictory to brief, but comprehensive doesn't mean long. It means that it includes all the necessary information to represent that original work. So we want it to be as short as we can, while making sure we include everything that needs to be there. And then we want to represent it in the way that it's intended. So accurate, brief, comprehensive. And you'll get a rubric that kind of outlines what I'm looking for that. So what are the traits of a summary? What makes something a summary? A summary identifies the main points or elements of a text. So the main things that are either in an article, in a book, in a movie, in an interview, in a conversation, whatever it is, what the main points that are trying to be conveyed, those need to be in a summary. It identifies what's stated or what is included. So if there's something important that's claimed in it, that needs to be in there. It identifies thoughts or contributions of others. So you need to make sure that if you're putting something in there, you give credit, essentially, to who is saying it. So if you had an article that was talking about plastic straws, and then in that article there's a quote from some expert, you want to make sure you identify both who wrote the article and who that quote's from if it needs to be in the summary. A summary doesn't have any argument, doesn't have any opinion, and it doesn't have any conclusion to it. It's just taking what you read, or what you watched, or what you heard, and objectively presenting a shorter, comprehensive version to your audience. Without any of your commentary, without you trying to say it's right or wrong, without you deciding it means something. And usually it contains signal words, like according to, or this person claims, or this person declares, or someone believes, or someone states, etc. Okay, so what's not in a summary? What don't you want to put in your summaries? So you do not go into unneeded detail or description. If you were summarizing Star Wars, you would not need to talk about Princess Leia's hair. While that is an iconic part of it, it's not important to the plot line, right? It's not important to the message of the movie, so it doesn't need to be in there. Don't state your opinion or interpretation. Don't say if you think the person's right or wrong, whether you think the movie was good or bad, whether you think it has some deeper meaning. That's not what goes into a summary, okay? Summary is just stating what is there, not your outlook on it. Don't talk about themes or symbolism. Summaries are face value. So if you were writing a summary about a poem, okay, you would just say what literally happened in it. An analysis would be where you would go into themes and symbolism. Don't analyze any data or information. So if there's statistics there and it doesn't say what they mean, it's not your job in your summary to say what you think they mean. And don't include any information you have that is not overtly stated in the text. Sometimes when you're writing a summary about something, you may have more information about that topic than is in the article, the book, the interview, whatever. But when you're summarizing, you can't include any of that outside knowledge, because that doesn't go into a summary. It can go into a paper, but it can't go into a summary. Alright, so now we're going to watch this video, Kiwi. It's a short film by a grad student, and then we're going to talk about what those main things that would go in a summary and what wouldn't. Okay, so now that we watched that, we're going to try and summarize it. So what are just the main points? What happens in this objectively? So there's a kiwi. It's just a type of bird. That's our protagonist. Okay, that's our main character. So we know that that's there. That's objective. He cannot fly. That's just an objective fact. He secures trees to the side of a cliff. He jumps off the cliff. It appears that he is flying. He cries. And he dies. So these are just the main points. So let's look at a sample of a summary of Kiwi, just using those main facts. In the short film Kiwi by Donnie Permetti, so notice how we name the thing that we're summarizing. That's important. And then we have the person who wrote it, the person who made it, the person we're attributing this to. Okay, so you have to have those at the beginning of a summary. The audience is introduced to a kiwi bird. The kiwi spends time securing trees to the side of a cliff. Once he completes this task, he jumps off the cliff. The viewpoint changes to the perspective that the kiwi would see and makes it appear as though he is flying. After the bird sheds a tear, the film ends with the kiwi dying. This was written by a student last semester. So it's pretty good. I mean, it's not the most well-written summary, but it has the main points, and he doesn't break any of the rules. It's all objective. He doesn't put his input in there. He doesn't add any information that wasn't there. He doesn't go into unnecessary detail. So what would have made this bad? What would have made this not a proper summary? Unneeded description in detail, right? If we had the color of the kiwi, what the trees looked like, how long he was flying, things like that. Details that aren't important to what's happening in it. If we added our opinions, if we said that it was sad, if we said that the film was really well done, it doesn't belong in a summary. If we added our interpretations, so if we said the kiwi cried because he was finally able to fly and he was happy, that's an interpretation. We don't know that. Or if we said that he cried because he knew he was going to die. Again, it's an interpretation. We don't know that, okay? It's not overtly stated. If we added themes or symbolism, so if we said something like, this film shows that when people become fixated on desire, they will often sacrifice everything for it. Right? That's a way that we could look at that film, but that's not what's literally happening in that film. Just like if we said, the small wings symbolize that everyone has some tools needed to succeed, but that may not be enough. Again, that's not overtly said. That's an analysis. That's not a summary. It doesn't belong in a summary. And if we had information that wasn't included in there. So if we said things like, the kiwi was likely lonely. Okay, well, we don't know that. Or if you did know that the filmmaker happened to be depressed throughout their life, and adding the filmmaker has a known history of depression, adding that, even if you knew that was true, which it's not, I don't think it is, even if you knew that was true, it's not from the thing we're summarizing, so it does not belong in our summary. So sometimes it's easier to summarize things that don't have an opinion to them or aren't controversial. They're just a piece of art. That's much easier. So let's look at something that has someone asserting something. So this is an article, The Case Against Plastic Straws by Annie Lowrey. This is just a segment of it because the article is very long. Let's just read it really quickly. It just isn't easy being green. At least not if you are trying to be green by buying stuff. Products marketed as being earth-friendly are often not that earth-friendly. The compostable fiber bowls you get at places such as Chipotle and Sweet Green leach toxic forever chemicals into the ground and groundwater. Using those shared dockless scooters produces more emissions than traveling by bus, electric bicycle, regular old bicycle, or moped, or on foot. Reusable grocery bags need to be employed dozens or even thousands of times before they are truly a greener alternative to flimsy plastic. Replacing certain forms of consumption with other marginally better forms of consumption is not going to save the planet. We're going to look at two summaries. One does a pretty good job, and one commits kind of all of our rule breakers. So our first one. First of all, we can see already that it's at least 50% shorter. Lowry asserts that many green options being utilized by companies and consumers are not as effective as they are being presented. She asserts solutions like compostable containers and reusable grocery bags are still harmful or inefficient respectively. Overall, this does a good job. It doesn't misrepresent what she's trying to say. It takes it and it makes it much briefer. It doesn't go into unnecessary detail by, giving lots of examples and things like that. That's what the article is for, not the summary. And it puts all the main points in there. There's nothing really missing from this. They should have had the article name in it. They put the author's name in it, but they didn't put the article. So it should have said, in the article, blah, blah, blah. Lowry asserts that. Other than that, this is a pretty good summary. Now let's look at the second one. Already we can see that it's much longer. It's basically as long as the article itself, right? So, many products marketed as being earth-friendly are often not that earth-friendly. Okay, first off, they don't introduce what they're summarizing first, and that's something basically directly out of the article, okay? So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're using your words, and you want to give credit at the beginning. Annie Lowry believes this is the fault of major companies like Chipotle. Okay, so that's not accurate, right? So she gives Chipotle's containers as an example, but she's not faulting them. Let's continue. Whose fiber bowls leach toxic chemicals that last forever into the groundwater. Okay, and she's also not blaming these companies necessarily for marketing these products as such. Other people she blames are, again, we have that blame word, are people using electric scooters since they emit harmful fumes, making them worse than buses, mopeds, bikes, and walking. So that's kind of a little out of context, but it's also way too much. We have way too much information here. They're basically giving us the whole article in different words. We don't need all of the examples in a summary. Thirdly, she criticizes people and stores promoting reusable bags since they don't help anything and need to be used over 1,000 times before it would matter. Again, not entirely accurate, right? She said 1,000 to 1,000 times. And she's not saying they don't help anything. It's just not doing much, right? And then we have the last sentence. The basic point Lowry is making is that there is no point in these practices since they aren't helping the environment. Again, taken a bit out of context. She's saying that they're not enough, not that there's no point. So it's too long, so we don't meet our B. It's not brief, and it's not accurate. And since it's not accurate, it's hard to be comprehensive. It does have a lot in there of what she's saying. It just takes it way out of context. We want it shorter. We want to make sure that we're not misrepresenting whatever it is that we're summarizing. Our basic summary points are, remember, A, B, C, accurate, brief, comprehensive. Make sure you don't misrepresent what they're saying. Make sure that it's shorter. We want to aim for 25 to 50%, and that it has all the important points, but not extra details. It doesn't have an opinion or a conclusion. Your thoughts in a summary don't matter. If you have any questions or are confused at all, make sure to put it in the questions and help forum, because other people might have those same questions. And I will see you all at the analysis lesson later this week.